always, as it were, accompanied by the consciousness of our body throughout our waking life. So there's this phrase from William James, my body is always there, quote, always there, unquote. You can't get rid of your body. That the signals from the skin and from the muscles and from the joints are relayed through the medial meniscus, the thalamus, and up into the somatosensory areas of the brain. And then the brain faces really two crucial challenges. The first one is it's got to put together these completely different sources of information. Information about pressure on the skin, information about the temperature of the skin, information about the positions of joints and the lengths of muscles, and it's somehow got to get all of these multi-sensory kinds of information all describing the same body. I think these two processes are linked, so I think it's something about the generation of a common format for all these different kinds of somatosensory information. I rather like Immanuel Kant's idea that I is simply the common element in all of these sensory descriptions that we get, and it's, if you like, the common core that is present in all of these operations of integrating lots of different sensory inputs. My own interest in this area stems really in what you might call the art of the body. So there's an interesting set of art forms which are characterized often as performing arts, and they're really quite simple because they only require two things. They require that one person moves and another person watches. On the receptive side, in terms of the receptive aesthetic, it seems tempting to suggest that there's a mode of artistic perception. And I think there's quite a big argument going on, quite an interesting argument about whether this aesthetic mode, this aesthetic way of seeing, is really just a cultural artifact. It's the experience that the brain generates for me. For example, when I'm presented with an object which is an artwork, in comparison to when I'm presented with another object which may be superficially relatively similar, may in fact even be identical, but isn't treated as an artwork. So is there an artistic mode in the brain? And you get this, I suppose, quite topically in modern art, where piles of bricks, classically, are exhibited in art galleries and appear, at least by some people, to be processed as art, whereas the same bricks in the street would attract very little attention. Could it be, for example, that there are particular patterns or forms of stimuli which have particular neural, probably in fact neurochemical effects in the brain, which induce particular experiences in me, and maybe those for some reason have come to be identified as aesthetic experiences. Maybe it's actually something which is directly in the brain rather than merely through cultural expectation.